like this, maybe a fist like on your face, that kind of thing. It's
nice
a little
mics.
uncomfortable. They are good mics. I mean, they sound okay.
Good job.
We try to act like we know what we're doing.
Where'd you get these? Guitar Center?
No, I have a bad Amazon habit.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't love Amazon as a company, but it's really easy.
It defeats the purpose,
I
and I
know,
will say
I
it's the
know.
easiest way to get my books, so I
is.
get it.
I was reading about that yesterday. About that, you got a ton of reviews. The first book, I mean, I was shocked at how many glowing reviews you have on that first book, man.
Grateful.
And so I'm excited to talk about this second one here. But before we get into that, I'm just so curious. Like, I was reading about you a few days. I've been, kind of brushing up a little bit over the last week. How does a girl from Seattle, Washington, end up living in Franklin, Tennessee? How does that even come to be?
Yeah. So my grandmother, Ruth, was born in Thompson Station in 1930, which is south of us. You and I are in Franklin.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
about 20 minutes south, in a house in 1930. All we have is a birth certificate of the doctor that delivered her in the house. He's a doctor from Spring Hill. And I'm actually on this journey, Chris, to find,
Oh, I love this.
piece together what that was. Because when she turned 2, my great-grandma and her took off to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And families in Florida. And then my father was born, and his dad was in the Navy, and so they ended up in Seattle. So I was born and raised in Seattle.
Yeah.
And went to college in California in Santa Barbara, a small Christian college called Westmont. And my senior year of college, a girl transferred from Vanderbilt.
No.
We became dear, dear friends. I visited Nashville spring break of my senior year, and I was like, this was 2002. And I said, this is where I'm supposed to live for the rest of my
wow.
life. And this is 2002.
Yeah.
When it was still tiny and
Yeah.
very small and
Yeah.
just unique and warm. And I thought, this is where I'm supposed to be. So graduated college, moved here, didn't know a soul, had a job lined up at my college. My dad was like, you're crazy. Take the job. Take the real
Yeah.
world job,
Yeah.
big girl job. And I moved here on a Women of Prayer, and it was the best thing I could have ever done.
Oh, wow.
And lived here for 2 years, ended up going to Texas for work. I was in San Antonio and then New York City for about 8. But we said, we're coming back to Nashville. We've been back 12 years now, back to our roots. But yeah, my grandma was born in Thompson Station in 1930.
Man, what a great story. So when you talk about the journey you're on to kind of piece all that together, what does that, like, I know for me personally, I went on a little bit of that, probably 2012, where I got really curious about my ancestry. And so I dove a little bit into it. I've not done much since then, candidly. So I know probably there are more tools accessible to people. What has that been like? What have you discovered?
Yeah. So I have the Ancestry.com box sitting on the kitchen counter. I have not opened it because I wanted to kind of do it the old-fashioned way. We went down to the public records office in Williamson County. We went to the small little city hall, teeny tiny office in Thompson Station, showed the birth certificate to the guy that works there.
I love that.
But it's time. It's really hard to
Yeah.
piece it together. We're not even sure if the house still exists. So I need to bite the bullet and do
man.
Ancestry.com and find my cousins in the area.
Yeah. I love that. Now, when you say you're not sure the house exists, do you have like an address?
So no,
But it's probably on a piece of farmland somewhere,
That's
or
what
it's
we're
been
thinking.
raised and developed or something like that, right?
yeah, whenever people look at this birth certificate, they'll say, well, I think that's down there, on the left by the
It's not a
big
road
tree.
that even exists anymore, right?
Exactly.
Probably,
Yeah. And then the doctor, like I said, was brought in from Spring Hill. It was a home birth. And so, I need to just go for it and dive in and see.
If you do find that place, though, one day.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine walking up to that? I guess let's assume you find that, and it's on a piece of farmland somewhere.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom what that would feel like walking up to it. Like, oh, man. And then at that point, I would go, okay, how do I own this place?
Absolutely.
You got to bring it back into the family at some
Yes.
point if it's still out there.
And what's been fun is anytime I mention this to people, you know this about our area, about Franklin and Williamson County. Oftentimes people will say, oh, you need to go talk to Joe Johnson.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
99. He knows everybody in the area. And so I've gotten some recommendations, to go talk to people that again, it was such a small community back then. So I need to do that
Yeah.
and piece it together.
Well, so I'm tickled to have you here. I'm excited to
Thank
talk about a
you.
bunch of things. I will say this may be a little echoey. I was kind of touring you around the place a little bit. It's a new office space.
It's a great space.
It's a fun little studio. A reason why we latched onto this place is we loved that it already had kind of this designated area that we felt like could be a fun podcast studio. But as you might hear, it's a little echoey. We don't have the rug on the ground. We got a couple of treatments that helped a little bit, but we're trying to kind of outfit it over the next few weeks. But you're the first guest
I'm so honored.
in this very echoey space.
This is a great space. This is quintessential to me, quintessential Franklin, like the studio that
Yeah.
who knows who was in here recording, jamming, rocking
I know.
out.
I mean, maybe somebody. I don't know at some point.
Sure.
So you guys have been here for 12 years.
Yes.
Now, I know at one point you were splitting time between New York City and here. Is that still going on?
Yes, I landed last night from New York City.
Oh my gosh.
I only go
Okay.
up a couple times a month now, though. COVID.
A couple times a month, though. Still, that's a lot, Megan.
Yeah, I was going every week for
Okay.
3
Oh,
days.
I'm sorry, that fell. No, that's all right.
That was my cell
That's-
phone
it's totally
falling out
fine,
of my
totally
pocket. I was going every week for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then during COVID, my boss, like so many bosses, went, oh my goodness, maybe they can work from home. So I built a studio in my house for a lot of the work that I do. So I don't nearly go up as much as I used to. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to do projects down here and, starting my own production company. But yes, still have to go up to the Big Apple every now
love
and
it.
then.
I
It's
love
a
it.
quick flight.
Now, I mean, I know. So as I've been reading about you and learning about kind of what you do, a lot of commentary, a lot of sports commentary. I mean, I think you've been commentating on like the last 10 or 12 Super Bowls. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
how I'm curious, like, how did you even get into this entertainment industry? How did you land there? Because were you a political science major?
Yes, you do your homework.
I do my homework.
I'm so proud of you.
You
Yeah.
got a girl from Seattle,
Yeah.
political science major, and then ends up in Nashville, splitting time New York City, and you're kind of in the entertainment, or not kind of, you are in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, like so many people, I, from really age 5, wanted to do something in entertainment. And I had a family that was like, oh, she'll grow out of that.
Were
And
you like a cut up and entertainer as a kid? Like you were the life of the party?
sang in the church choir,
Oh,
tap
yeah.
danced in front of the fireplace at Christmas dinner
Oh,
for my family.
I can see it.
All that silly stuff. Just had fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I played sports and, did everything. But yeah, I was always in the school plays and church, singing in the church choir and singing. I went to a Christian school, and singing in the choir at school was really important to me, and just worship music and falling in love with that as an expression. But my parents were like, go get a good liberal arts education. And I really think my dad thought she'll grow out of this. Went to college, political science major, tried to really do something meaty. I did an internship in Washington, D.C. for a senator, Senator Richard Lugar, who has since passed away, from Indiana. He was on the Foreign Relations Committee. And whenever I would talk to politicians, Chris, I'd find myself being like, well, what do you like to do for fun? Like, are there plays around here that you all go to? And everybody's like, you should not be in the
They're like,
political
no,
sphere."
we just make laws.
Yeah.
We just make regulations.
Like I remember when Kevin Richardson, he's from the band Backstreet Boys, everybody, if you don't know. I remember when he came to the Senate to partner on a bill, something to do with music back in the day. Napster had just started and people were trying to figure out how to protect music. And I remember being so excited. Oh, that's interesting. I want to be a part of that. And so people said, you need to go do entertainment. So the roommate from Nashville invited me here. And I just started knocking on doors and pounding the pavement. I didn't know a soul in this town, and I stumbled into radio. Worked for Westwood One, Metro Networks. I started doing traffic and weather reports on all the local radio stations here in Nashville, and then got a chance to fill in on TV. Just tried my hand at traffic reports on TV, and then I just always said, I would love to file entertainment stories if you need somebody. Worked for free for forever, and one thing kind of led to the next. But yeah, I think my parents thought for sure I wouldn't still be doing this 20 years later.
Well, I mean, but it seems like you're very good at it. I mean, this
It's
is
fun.
I can already tell, like, you have a natural gifting in that area. That makes a lot of sense to me. So, and it seems like you're loving it and having a blast. Like, I would love to hear a little bit, not a little bit. I want to hear a lot about A Small Town Christmas, the TV show.
Oh, yeah.
How that came to be. I know it's been on. You got 2 seasons that are in the can. People can go find those on the Up Network.
Yes.
Is that right? Which,
Up
by the
Faith and
way,
Family?
we're big fans of the Up Family Network. We
Great
have.
network.
I think we get it through maybe Amazon Prime Video. There's like an Up app, or you can subscribe to it or something like that.
Yeah.
So I've been able to check that out. You've got 2 seasons that are available there. New season's coming out when?
Yes, new season comes out December 16th and 23rd on the Fox Business Channel.
Got it. I'm super excited about those. I saw the
you.
cities that you're going to, or the towns. I got to call them towns.
Yeah.
I can't call them cities.
That's right.
I got to call them towns. The towns that you're going to be featuring in season 3. But like, did you come up with that idea? Did somebody pitch you on that? How did that come to be?
Yeah. So working in the industry for, almost 13, 14 years, I was an entertainment reporter for Inside Edition. Like you mentioned, covered Thursday Night Football for CBS for 2 seasons. Working for the big corporate media company, don't get me wrong, there's something very beautiful about just doing your job, getting a paycheck.
Sure,
This is the story you're going to cover today.
Yeah.
But I'm a mom of 3 kids, and like so many people, I started realizing there's not a whole lot to watch as a family. People, I'd be covering a red carpet or something, covering a movie, and, people would say, "Oh, did you go see it?" I'm like, "No, I have 3 little kids. I didn't go see that movie." So during COVID, I really started thinking about, okay, you can look for those projects, you can look for the other person to do it, or there comes a time where you need to do it yourself.
Yeah, amen.
And I just thought it's go time. And so during COVID, I like I told you, I put together my studio in my basement, started pitching some different ideas. And when we were all in lockdown, I thought, man, our small towns and small businesses are really going to need a boost coming out of COVID. They are, struggling. They're the heartbeat of this country. I love to travel during the holidays with my kids and go to these small towns and experience them and just move at a slower pace, much like we have here in Franklin. Mm-hmm. And so I came up with a concept, filmed what's called a sizzle reel. I filmed it in Pigeon Forge, and they were featured in season 2, pitched it to a bunch of different networks, and Up said, yes, let's do this.
Wow.
Small Town Christmas, here we go.
I'm fascinated by this. So is that just a lifetime of connections and learning how that business works for you to be able to just go, okay, I have no idea how I would even begin to put an idea together or create this, you call it a sizzle reel?
Yeah.
Sizzle reel.
Yeah.
How you would do that, how you would pitch that to potential distribution partners.
Yeah.
Is that just things that you learned being in the business?
You know what I realized, Chris? I was paid to interview people in the industry for 13, 14 years. And I would ask people questions when a movie comes out. I'd love to talk to the producer or the director, people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
How did this come about? How did you get the script? How did you put together the cast? That fascinates me, the business and production side of the industry. So I really was constantly just tucking things away that I heard.
Yeah.
And then again, seeing a real hole in the industry for family-friendly faith content. And I think a lot of people have realized that, and there's great projects out there now. But that light bulb moment for me was going, oh, I think I could put my skill set in this area. I love Christmas. I have always loved Christmas. Like, we decorate in September. And
I can see that on you.
Yeah. So it's like, and when my first kid's book was being put together, I had a great editor at Simon & Schuster.
Now, is that called One More Hug?
One More Hug.
Right? That's right.
Good man.
Right. Yeah.
Karen Nagel, shout out to Karen at Aladdin Books at Simon & Schuster. When I was pitching her ideas for my kid's book, she said, okay, Megan, these are all great, but tell me about your family. What's going on in your life? She taught me, do what you know.
Yeah.
And Christmas is what I know, Chris. I love Christmas. I love family. So I would just say to people, if you have an idea, do what you know, because it comes so much easier. It's fun. And I just think the dots connect much quicker.
What time of year are you starting your Christmas playlist?
Oh, it's all year round.
Yeah. Are you being serious right
when
now?
I'm going through a tough time or I'm having a depressed moment, I pop on instrumental Christmas in the car.
Okay. So
Instrumental
you're getting,
Christmas.
and what are those tunes? Are we getting like First Noel? What are some of your favorite Christmas tunes?
Yeah. Well, my all-time favorite is "Oh Holy Night." It was
it's a great one.
sung at my wedding. That's the most beautiful worship song.
You had it sung at your wedding?
Yes, and the wedding was in January.
That's fantastic. I love that.
The Nutcracker. The whole
Nutcracker's so
track
good.
to the
So good.
Nutcracker.
Yeah. What about Handel's Messiah? You like?
Oh, yes.
That's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. Going
You
classical.
can sing. Oh my goodness.
But I love Harry Connick Jr.,
Yes.
Dean Martin, Let It Snow, Andy Williams.
Yeah.
Most wonderful time of the year. Like, that will instantly put me in a good mood. So it's a pick me up all year long.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get some Christmas playlist tips from you at some point, because
so many good ones.
Yeah, I do like them. I tend to lean, in my family, God bless them, sort of hates it, but I tend to lean to like some weirder or more off the wall, like Run DMC had a Christmas song. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, he did. What was it?
And I can't remember what the name of it is offhand, but like songs like that.
Something about Rudolph.
Yeah, for sure. There was there's a band out of Louisville called My Morning Jacket. They've got a kind of a weird Christmas song it's kind of funky. I do some things like that, but I want more classics involved in my Christmas playlist, so I need to get some tips on that. So your first 2 seasons are available on, it's called Up Family Faith Network?
So Up TV has an app called
Gotcha.
Up Faith and Family.
Perfect.
And then, yes, Up TV is a cable channel that people can get to.
Now, of those towns that you featured in the first 2 cities, you'd mentioned Pigeon Forge. I know you went to the North Pole.
Yes,
like,
we did.
Holy cow, I didn't even know. I'm not I feel like Forrest Gump right now. I'm not a very smart man. I didn't know the North Pole was a place you could go to.
I didn't either. I did not either.
Is it real?
It is real. Yes.
You went to the North Pole.
We went to the North Pole in Alaska. It's about an hour outside of Fairbanks, Alaska.
Okay.
And the town came about because there is the Santa Claus house in the center of North Pole, which is a teeny tiny town. It's probably one of the smallest that we have ever covered and featured. But the local post office in the North Pole was getting all these letters from kids.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yes.
So they turned it into the Santa Claus house. And so the town kind of has really embraced what that is for them. But it's a small town. It was freezing cold. It was -5, -6 while we were there.
Yeah, that's cold.
You know, the water bottle freezes in the car instantly. You have to plug in your car at night. It was crazy, but it's gorgeous, beautiful.
I can imagine.
Featured some real reindeer.
Now, I don't know much about the Northern Lights. Are they around? But you can see them in Fairbanks, I think, right?
Yeah.
Were they around that time of year when you were there?
My photographer, Kevin, caught them about 1, 2 a.m. He's the only one that stayed up for it.
That's one of the things I want to see before I die.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have many, but I really want to see the Northern Lights. I can't even imagine what that would feel like.
Alaska is breathtakingly beautiful, especially in the winter.
I love it. So the new season, you said there are 2 episodes now. It's 2 episodes coming out, right?
So normally we do 4. Season 1 and season 2, we did 4 cities each. We've gone to Branson, Missouri, Frostburg, Maryland, Darlington, Somerville, South Carolina, Natchitoches, Louisiana.
Yeah. Lots of southern towns I noticed, which I thought was really cool. I didn't know if that, like, do you consider yourself a southerner now?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Amen. I love it. It's like you weren't born here, but you got here as fast as you could.
Yeah.
You know?
And I hold on to Grandma being born here
Amen.
in 1930.
Amen.
He was always
Your
there,
heritage.
right? I
That's
just
right.
had to return to
That's
it.
right. That's right. So these towns that you have visited.
Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Another great one.
What have been 1 or 2 of your favorites from the first 2 seasons?
Oh gosh, it's like picking your favorite child.
I know.
It's difficult to do, but well, I think the family traditions in these towns, how the families are so a part of all these festivities. For example, in Natchitoches, Louisiana, a sweet lady named Sadie who passed away last year after we featured her on the show, 101. Her town built the Santa Claus house due to their family story of a little boy way back in the day and their family missing seeing Santa at Macy's department store.
Oh, man.
And so they created the Santa Claus house in the middle of town so all these kids could always have a moment with Santa. It's open all the time. I think things like that are incredible. Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, they're the only small town in the country that does a live nativity. They do a live Advent nativity.
Yeah.
So like we have our Advent calendars and we open door number 1 on December 1st. You knock on small business number 1 in downtown Bethlehem. The town gathers.
That is a genius idea.
The door opens and a local business is giving away treats and goodies and
That's
they sing.
a genius idea.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that here?
Great idea. I know.
Doesn't that fit for downtown Franklin?
Completely.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Are there 1 or 2 more that just stick out to you as like, man, I'm just tickled we went there. And I'm curious how you even chose these places.
Yeah. Well, research is so much fun for me.
Yeah.
It's me on my computer getting, advice from friends that hear about the show that say, like my friend Vicki Williams recommended Oxford, Mississippi, which we're covering this year. So it's so much fun to pick up the phone and make that first phone call to the town and say, hey, I produce a television show called Small Town Christmas. We're interested in featuring your town because inevitably, Chris, in these small towns, they always go, oh, you need to talk to this person. You need to talk to Aunt Susie. She'll know all about the Christmas festivities. She runs the town tree lighting and she does it for free. I'm always amazed in these small towns. Most of the festivities are volunteer driven and volunteer run because people love it. They love their town. They love celebrating during the holidays. So all those phone calls are so fun. But gosh, Branson, Missouri is a strong military town, and they have a giant military Christmas tree that they put in the center of town, and I was able to walk it with one of our veterans. It's covered in red, white, and blue. Veterans make stops in Branson to see that tree and take a photo. I thought that was beautiful, and so just honoring to our military and our veterans. Gosh.
And you got Silver Dollar City there. I'm sure that... I mean, I've only been there once.
Yeah. I got one more for you.
Yeah.
Natchitoches, Louisiana. There is a book called The Cajun Night Before Christmas.
Oh.
Do you know about this?
I don't, but it's right in my alley.
They call Santa Papa Noel.
I knew that, but I don't know about the Cajun Christmas.
And he gets in a canoe pulled by alligators on Christmas Eve.
I love this.
And puts on his rain boots, and that's how he delivers presents to the kids.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Look up the book, The Cajun Night Before Christmas. That I never knew about that before. That was pretty cool tradition.
Yeah, that is fantastic. So you mentioned Oxford, Mississippi, and what was it? There was one in North Carolina.
Bryson City.
Yeah. So have you already filmed those?
No.
Okay, so when are you doing that?
We film in November, and we flip the show within 2 weeks.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
My editors are pounding the coffee, and we're cutting scenes and editing. And
that stresses me out.
I always call the towns and I say, any chance I could get you to decorate in September or October? And they go, no, I think November is the earliest we could do. So if I could film earlier, I would, but it's meant to be filmed in November, and then we put it on air in December.
Do you kind of have your itineraries already sort of planned out for those two towns, or what does that look like?
Yes. Well, so many of these small towns, they're like a well-oiled machine. For example, Oxford, Mississippi, they have something called the Holly Jolly Holidays.
Okay.
And that is their Christmas festivity of the tree lighting and the double-decker bus going through Oxford, Mississippi, and the mayor coming out and flipping the switch, and Santa, greeting everybody. And so a lot of them, we just kind of slip in and feature what they're already doing for the holidays. But then it's really fun for me to call up the local bakery and find out who makes the interesting Christmas cookie in that town, or a local church. I always try to feature a faith element in the show. And so in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, the Moravian Church was wonderful to talk to, and their choir sang for us, and they hand make candles for their Christmas Eve service in the basement of the church. And we got to sneak in and see that, all volunteer driven. So all you need to do is start talking, Chris, and the ideas start flowing.
Oh,
it's so
fun. I would imagine.
We don't have enough room to feature it all because it's only 30-minute episodes.
Oh, man.
So.
I mean, is there a size of town that's too big? Like I'm just curious, like Franklin seems so perfect for this kind of thing. But then you go, is Franklin small enough? Is it a small town?
Oh, yeah. No, Franklin is perfect. The Dickens Festival, which we are known for.
Right. Heritage Foundation puts it on, right?
That's right. Heritage Foundation puts it on. People dress up like Ebenezer Scrooge from A Christmas Carol.
That would be perfect, right?
It's the second week in December, which for me,
you can't turn it quick
I can't
enough.
turn it in time. I could perhaps, I considered filming it for the next year.
That's a good idea.
Tucking it away, but a lot of times it comes down to just logistics and schedules. Sure. But no, Branson is a large town.
Okay, well, I wasn't
Pigeon
sure.
Forge is larger.
I wasn't sure how big those towns were.
Yeah,
I know
that's about as big as we'd go.
Okay.
So
Well, I mean, Franklin. I don't know. I would guess Franklin's a little bit bigger than those. I don't know. Maybe they aren't.
Yeah.
I just feel like, man, our hometown here is just—it's a special place.
Absolutely.
That it feels everything I'm looking. I go, this is right up your alley. You need to be doing this.
Oh yeah.
If you need a co-host for that episode,
for sure,
look me up. Okay.
Yeah.
So I love this book that you brought me, which is inspired by the show.
Yes.
Right. And so this came out last year.
Yes.
You released it last year.
Came out last year.
And so I am sort of obsessed with kids' books. And that might sound weird, but some of my favorite books of all time that I personally love to read now are children's books. Is that weird?
Not at all. You're a father.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, even like Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh,
like
yeah.
how is that not an amazing book? And have you ever read Frog and Toad? Any of the Frog and Toad series?
Yeah.
Some of my favorite stories of all time are the Frog and Toad stories. So I love kids books, and so when I saw that you'd written 2 of them, and are you working on a third?
Not a kid's book, but I am working on a third
Gotcha,
book.
a third book.
I'd love
Yeah.
to do another kid's book, though.
Yeah. But I'm curious, like, because they're both illustrated by the same person. How do you, who puts this together? When you come up with an idea, are you working with someone at the publisher? Are you coming up with these ideas on your own? Did you connect with the illustrator? Or, like, how does all that work?
Yeah. So my very first book that came out in 2015 was called Faith in the Spotlight, Thriving in Your Career While Staying True to Your Beliefs. And that was very much like a memoir, although I'm not old enough to have a memoir. People kind of looked at me funny
No,
when I
you
said
gotta-
that.
you gotta
More of
embrace
a- More of a guidebook. More of a guidebook. I often got questions from people that said, "Oh, you've worked in the entertainment industry and yet have maintained your faith and your values.
Yeah.
How is that possible to not sell your soul, and work in that industry?" And I thought there's a need here for that conversation.
Sure.
And so I gathered a bunch of friends that I admire that wrote forewords to all the different chapters in the book. And so that was really fun to do and a really interesting journey. And through my relationship with Simon & Schuster, my book party for that book in New York City, one of my dear friends is Ainsley Earhart. She's a morning anchor for Fox and Friends. I've been a part of a Bible study with her in New York for a long, long time. She wrote a kid's book. She invited her children's editor to come to my party. Her name's Karen Nagel, who I mentioned. And we just started talking, and I was telling her just about my ideas for a children's book. And she said, "Well, why don't you come to my office and pitch me those ideas?" So I did. And as I told you, Chris, I had these ideas of girls are superheroes and, dream big and all these things that I didn't have a daughter at the time. And she's like, "Okay, do you have a daughter?" I said, "No." She said, "Okay, well, tell me about your family." And I started telling her about my oldest son, Chase, who is now 12, but at the time was 5.
Yeah.
And he was running back to me for one more hug as the bus pulled up. He had a hard time getting on the bus. He was first in line, and then he was last in line, running back for 5 or 6 hugs, and really had anxiety about getting on the school bus. I said, "He just keeps running back for one more hug." And she said, "Megan, that's your book." She said, "That's your book.
One more hug. It's genius.
One more hug." She said,
Golly.
"And let's think about, that's more than just a hug he's asking for. He's asking for reassurance. He's asking for confidence, security." So we put together the story. I put together the story, and then she came to me and said, "I have a couple illustrators that work for Simon & Schuster that I think would be a really good fit. What do you think?" And so Hiroe Nakata, who illustrated One More Hug and The Magic of a Small Town Christmas, she lives in Japan. I've never met her. She sent me some sketches. And I went, "Oh my goodness, she is bringing this story to life."
They're
'Cause
beautiful.
Let's be honest, kids' books are all about the illustrator. Like, we got to give the illustrators credit.
They're a huge part of it.
they're
This is
incredible.
a beautiful book. Absolutely. But the story of just like one more, our 7-year-old right now, his name is JD, and he is just like still in that sweet, snuggly, wants to climb in bed with us every night. We watch Shark Tank together. He loves Shark Tank.
Oh, we love Shark Tank.
He loves Shark Tank. But this morning when I was leaving, he's like, "I love you, Dad." And he just came up to me 4, 5, 6 times. And he's in a lot of things you described, maybe a little bit anxious, a little bit like, what's going on? I think when anybody leaves, he's just like, there's a little fear in him. And so he wants one more hug.
Yeah.
He just keeps doing it. And I just keep giving them to him. Like, man, there's going to be a day where he's not going to want any hug.
That's right.
And I'm going to miss that day a
Absolutely.
lot,
Yeah, and I would say too, write what you know, that's my story. And so then it's easy.
Yep.
The words just came out on the pages when it came time to put it together. Same with The Magic of a Small Town Christmas, because I really wanted to capture the charm and the values and that special sauce that we find in all these small towns.
Sure.
What is it that makes them so warm and inviting? What are they doing right? But I would also say to people, what a cool time to write a book right now. You can go online and find an illustrator. You can self-publish. I've had many friends that have just put the book together, link up online with an illustrator. You can self-publish. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it in bookstores. There's a hybrid model. There's a company in Austin, Texas, Greenleaf, that is sort of a hybrid of those two. There are so many options nowadays. It's really doable. And so whenever people say to me, "Oh, I'd love to write a kid's book," I'm like, do it.
Yeah.
all the tools are there.
Have you? I mean, you may have. You probably have thought about this. You may have done it, but like, have you ever thought about advising people or coaching people through the process of how to bring a children's book idea to life?
I would love to.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
should do that.
Done a little media consulting, getting people prepared for interviews and speeches. But yes, I would love to. It's a beautiful journey to go on. You learn about yourself. You meet such neat people. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna pitch you a kid's book idea after this. I've got one in my head.
Sounds good.
My wife hates this. I have too many ideas, and I'm the dumb guy who thinks all my ideas are great, which they're not. But I'm like, oh, this would be a genius kids book idea.
Yeah.
But I have no idea how to bring that thing to life.
Yeah.
So
the other thing, Chris, is all 3 books, every single book I've ever written, I only got one offer. All it takes is one yes. I sent out my pitch for my first book to 12 different publishers, and I got one yes. And that's
all you needed.
That's all you need.
Yeah, I love it.
One person that believes in it.
I love it. Well, so here's the part of the podcast where I like to just ask people some random questions, okay? And so you can just tell me, I mean, these aren't going to have anything to do with anything we've talked about, but I'm just curious. I like to ask people a few specific things. Do you have, we've talked a little bit, you've talked a little bit about today, your faith. So I don't curse a lot, but I curse maybe a little bit, under the right circumstances. But I have what I call like Southern curse words. These are like dadgummit or son of a gun, things like that. Do you have like a favorite, kid-friendly Southern curse word?
Oh, gosh. I'm thinking of my Grammy who used to say Hell's Bells.
Hell's Bells, that's a good one. I like that one.
And my kids are like, what? I'm like, well, that word's in the Bible. That's what my Grammy used to say. It's okay, For the love, that's not really a curse.
No, I would consider that. I mean, you stomp your toe.
Good Lord. Yeah, I do good Lord a lot.
Yep, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Do you have any family heirlooms that your kids are it's going to be, this thing is going to be passed down to my children one day?
I have jewelry from my grandma's that I wore in my wedding, like earrings that I wore that I will definitely pass down.
Because heirlooms, I feel like they're not they're not what's the word I'm looking for? They're not solely a Southern thing.
Yeah, sure.
But I do feel like we take our heirlooms kind of seriously, passing things down.
Well, 2 that really mean a lot to me is I have my great-grandmother's Bible.
Oh, that's a great one.
And it's black and it's
marked
thick
up.
and it's got
marked up?
And it's got the gold on the inside of the pages, like just beautiful. And then my grandma Lorraine has a book where she wrote all these quotes down, and I love quotes, inspirational thoughts, and so it's like her book of wisdom, and I'm definitely going to pass that down to my kids, where you just flip it open and she's written something interesting that inspired her that day. So love those types of things. My dad collects a lot of books. I've started collecting books, so I'm hoping to keep the book collection tradition passed down to my kids too.
I saw, so I was looking through your Instagram. I saw, I can't remember where it was, but there was something you did recently that had an autographed edition of Widow of the South that was available.
Yes.
Did you know Robert at all? I didn't even plan to bring this up, but did you know Robert at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So Robert was a dear friend. Do you know who I'm talking? Robert Hicks wrote Widow of the South.
Sure.
And so, man, that book is one of my top 10.
Really?
Oh, if you haven't read it, it's unbelievable.
Okay.
And it is so it's a historical work of fiction. So it's about Carrie McGavick and Carton Plantation, and the home that became essentially a field hospital during the Battle of Franklin.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just a phenomenal book. And so there's a lot of Franklin in that book, obviously, but it's just really well written, tells a phenomenal story. He was just a great author. So I would highly recommend, if you like reading, put that on your list. Widow of the South. It's fantastic.
Okay.
What's your opinion on mayonnaise? Are you pro or against mayonnaise? I know you're pretty healthy.
Yeah, the only time I like mayonnaise is with ketchup. On a burger, maybe. Or
okay, mix it together almost like a fry sauce. I know we do that a little bit at home. Are you particular about your mayonnaise?
Well, growing up, my mom did Miracle Whip.
We're gonna shut this down right now.
So it took a
while.
I'm
sorry, Megan. We've come to the end of the.
Well, then you have your moment where you taste mayonnaise and you go, "Oh my gosh, I haven't lived. I will never touch Miracle Whip again."
Different thing.
So I became aware of mayonnaise later in life.
Yeah, but you're not necessarily like a Hellman's girl or a Duke's girl or anything. Oh, okay.
Should I be?
Absolutely, you should be. There's a right answer to that question. And if you don't know that there's a right answer, that's a problem.
Is it Duke's?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Let's lean in that direction.
Yeah, it's a different thing. It's made using an apple cider vinegar.
Oh.
So people describe it as like a twang. There's like a little something there that's different.
Okay.
And it just Duke's is it's phenomenal. So we're gonna have to work on that. That's all right. That's all right. And then, so the last one here in this, when I say the word Southerner, who are one or two people that just kind of instantly come to mind for you?
Sherry Belenfant, who is my neighbor and friend. Her family is a big part of Williamson County. She actually, if you open the book, Chris, I talk about Sherry's Bakery in here, and that is Sherry. She's a real life person.
I saw a video where you were talking about that, right? Yeah.
Real life person.
Y'all sit on the front porch or something and drink tea or coffee?
Yes. Drink tea, coffee. She'll dress up like that character and sit at the Dickens Festival table with me.
That's great.
Yeah, Sherry is quintessential Southern lady to me. Just never forgets to write a thank you note or a card. Never forgets a birthday.
Now, is this character drawn to kind of look like Cher? Oh, that's fun. That's a blast. I love that.
Yeah, so that's who comes to mind. And then, I don't know, the movie Steel Magnolias, probably.
Yeah, why not? It's a great movie.
When we featured Natchitoches, Louisiana in season 1, we went to the house and I did a quick tour of Malin's house.
Oh, that's great.
And if anybody's ever seen that movie, Julia Roberts and Sally Field and Shirley MacLaine.
Dukakis.
Olympia Dukakis. Yeah,
right.
that to me is like the quintessential Southern movie. And I want to walk into that scene whenever I travel. I'm like, where's the local hair salon? Dolly Parton was in that movie too. But that's the South to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's a fantastic film.
Yeah.
That makes me want to go watch it. I'm gonna have to pull that up and watch it pretty soon.
Good.
Well, let's talk about as we're sitting here today. We're closing in on the end of September. I mean, October starts, this weekend. So the holidays are coming up quickly, and I'm excited. You're going to be at our holiday market this year, which we've never had an author like come in and move books and do book signings. We've never had anything like that happen before. So when I saw that you had put in an application, I was like, oh, and we already had this, I think, even scheduled a long time ago. And I was just like, that makes all the sense in the world. So I'm tickled about that. And so I'm excited to have you be a part of that. That's going to be the 17th and 18th of November here in Franklin. Now, do you do a lot of that?
No, and just during the holidays, usually.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, will you have both books available there?
I will.
Okay.
I noticed that people often ask, oh, do you write anything else? I used to just bring the Christmas book, but yes, I will bring One More Hug and my Faith in the Spotlight book. Chris, I love the energy, and I've been a part of your Zoom calls now as we're planning for this holiday market.
Oh, man.
No, it's so neat to see what everybody else is doing, how we can support each other.
Yeah.
Again, I've only done a few, but at these holiday markets, and yours seems like it's just going to be absolutely phenomenal with the people that you've collected. We all must love what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because to be a small business owner is tough. You got to really believe in your product.
Very difficult, yes.
Right? And then I love the fact that it's Southern made. You're all about made South.
Yeah.
And supporting these Southern products and people. It's just... It's cool.
Every year during the application process, we get people from Vegas, from
Really?
Oh yeah, from Kansas, from we've had them Idaho, California, and I'm like, guys, I love you. I hope. I mean, what you do is great. I hope it's successful for you, but like the event is called Made South. Yeah. I don't understand how you feel like this fits in with what you're doing.
They want to be a part of it. They're jealous.
And I understand. I understand. And it's interesting. This year is the first year that we've made one slight exception that we have some dear friends who have been part of many events that we've done. And they are historically, they've been a sister team. That one of them lives here in Franklin and one of them lives in, I believe, Idaho. And so they work on the business together.
Okay.
And they say, hey, we're based in Franklin, we're based in Idaho, and we do that together. And we've always allowed them in. Well, this year, they sold the business to their longtime employee, who she's come to all these events and been a part of, and we've got to know her, and she's great. But they sold it to her. Well, she lives in Idaho. So it's officially an Idaho business, but they were like, hey, can we come be a part of like one more?
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely. So
Yeah.
this is the first time I go, oh, it makes me feel a little bit like, oh gosh, you're officially from Idaho now. But I don't know. They're kind of grandfathered in.
Isn't that the Southern way? You always make an exception with your Southern
Make
hospitality.
a seat at the table.
That's right.
Clear
That's
some
right.
room. Come on in.
They'll move here eventually.
I hope so. That'd be awesome.
They will.
They're a great brand, and I think it'll be fun to watch you because you seem very personable, very like engaging, a people person. It'll be interesting to see how you navigate and how you engage with the other people there because they are. It becomes a little bit like an extended family where a lot of these people come back each year, and thank the Lord, like it's a good event for them, and they want to come back, and we want it to be awesome for them.
Yeah.
And you just it's a little bit like a family reunion each year where, I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yes.
And they're connecting and they're figuring out ways to collaborate and, work on something together. And so it's a blast. It genuinely, and I don't know when we first connected, but like last year we did it, and I genuinely thought this is going to be the last one that we're going to do. It just... We had done it for so long. Last year was our 8th. Stress levels just higher. I'm 45. I'm about to turn 46. I'm a little bit older. 4 kids. A lot going on. It was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And then Chris came along and we formed a partnership. And he's just been awesome. Like he's taken a lot of those things that stressed me out and has just removed those from my plate. And
what a blessing.
Yeah. And it's been awesome. And
you love it again.
I do.
That's important.
I love it again because it is at the heart and soul of everything that we've ever tried to do. Small business, Southern hospitality.
Yes.
And so I'm tickled that it's going to go on, and I'm excited that you're going to be there because
thank you. I can't wait to be there, and I can't wait to support everybody else. I mean, that's one of the blessings of being a part of your market is walking around and saying, hey, what are you up to? My husband always ends up Christmas shopping and buying up as much as he possibly can.
I love it.
But learning about what other people are doing, I want to support small business. Well, you better go to the places where they are, find out what they're doing, and seek ways to collaborate or just support them.
Yeah,
So,
amen. You've mentioned your faith a little bit here, and I know that you've written your first book came out. What year was that?
yeah, 2015. I believe.
2015.
Faith in the Spotlight.
Yep. And I'm curious. I'm a man of faith. I know that I find it difficult sometimes, kind of in the circles that I'm in, or relationships that I have. It's sometimes difficult to be open about that. I believe over the last few years I've gotten a little bit bolder, and it might just be a little bit seasoning, age, maybe a hair more wisdom that I'm just like I don't care as much if somebody gets upset that I'm a person of faith. But I am curious, that book about navigating the industry of being in the entertainment industry and that. Have you gained more comfort talking about your faith, or do you still find it at times to be a little bit difficult?
I think ultimately it comes down to relationships and loving people and building relationships. And working in New York City, I wasn't super open about it in the beginning. My approach was really, I want to get to know people. I want to build relationships. And when that book came out, Chris, I had been at Inside Edition as a full-time employee, I think for 10 years at that point. Yeah, maybe 8. But I went to my boss and told him, hey, I'm writing this book, because my boss said, you can do whatever y'all want to do, but let me be the first to know. Like if you're in a movie,
keep me in the loop.
Keep me in the loop.
Yeah.
This is the news business. I want to know the breaking news, not from somebody else. So I said, hey, I've written this book and I just want to give you a copy. And I remember thinking, I wasn't necessarily sure how he was going to react to it, but his reaction was, good for you. You're a hard worker. I know you'll show up on time, meet deadline, you work well with people. Okay, that's what you decided to do. Good for you. I'm all about girls going after their dreams. And if your faith is a part of that, that's great. I have a daughter. It's neat to have, her to point to you in terms of being a role model. So I tell people, I really think establishing a relationship first. I mean, we've heard that phrase for forever, preach the gospel, use words if necessary.
Sure.
But the little things matter. Our actions matter. Our attitude matters. I think it's much more simple. It doesn't need to be as complicated just in how we treat people. And I mean, I need to remind myself of that every day. But I think when, you're in a fast-paced environment where you just don't have opportunities to have long, thoughtful conversations. Conversations are very quick and short when we're trying to meet deadline or quickly write a story. All the little things matter, and they all add up. So it's who I am. I'm more comfortable now that I'm older to just say, hey, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. And I know I'm going to find my people. And by talking about my faith, it'll be that much easier to find my people.
Sure.
And I think that comes with time. But there were people in my life early on that said, why are you wanting to work in entertainment? That's a dark, dark place. And when I read the Bible and I combed through the Bible, I went, but wait a second. God is always sending people to dark places.
Salt and light.
Salt and light. Mm-hmm. Daniel is my hero.
Yeah.
Daniel in the Bible. It's one of my favorite books of the Bible. Daniel goes to Babylon, gains the favor of the king, does good work, gets along with everyone in the court to then preach his message, and is put into an interesting, influential place. So I just tell people, well, read the Bible. If you don't have it all figured out, that's okay. That's usually exactly the person God likes to use, because that means you'll look to him for the right map.
That's right. I have loved this conversation.
Thank you. Me too.
We may have to do this in the future.
Yeah.
Like I've only had one or two people come on again, but I think it'd be neat, especially since you're local, to maybe get your insight on some things in the future. I don't know what that would look like, but you're one of those people that I feel an instant connection with you. Like I go, she gets it. And I love that you've embraced Franklin. This is your place. I love, and I saw you work with Barry over at the Heritage Foundation.
Yes,
right?
On the board of the Heritage Foundation.
You're investing in this place. You're investing in the community. I love that. And I've really enjoyed this conversation. If somebody wants to learn more about you, about what you do, about connecting with you online, what's the best way they can do that?
They need to show up to the factory
on
November 17th and 18th.
Shameless plug.
Find my booth. Let's chat. Let's talk. I'd love to sign a book for you for a Christmas present. But if you can't make it, and we hope that you do, you can always go to meganalexander.com, find me on social media, smalltownchristmas.info, and the show will be on the Fox Business Channel in December.
I love it. Megan, thank you for doing this. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Chris.